insulin prices and spending in the US have continued to increase, whereas in Canada, they've stayed relatively constant. This paper came out of watching busloads of patients cross the border to buy insulin. And so we were curious at what was happening and if this problem continued. We're not the first group to highlight this price difference. It's been noted for the last decade. But I think we were the first to kind of explore the differences within products and to explore the trend over time. And it shows that the problem continues to grow even as politicians have turned their attention to this important problem.
My name is Tyler Schneider, and I'm a fourth-year pharmacy student at the Leslie Dan Faculty of Pharmacy at the University of Toronto.
I'm Mina Tadros. I'm an assistant professor at the Leslie Dan Faculty of Pharmacy at the University of Toronto, and one of the co-authors on this paper titled Comparisons of Insulin Spending and Price Between Canada and the US, and this will appear in the Mayo Clinic Proceedings March edition. Our paper carries some very important takeaway messages, and I'd like to highlight a few of them. First, and probably the most important, our paper found that the average American insulin user in 2018 spent almost 5 times more on insulin than the average Canadian insulin user. And these were the same drugs. One of the major reasons for this policy mechanism is that we have a mechanism at the federal level that doesn't allow companies to just increase the price. And so, in this space, what ends up happening is companies can control their pricing in the US and dramatically increasing them, sort of finding where the market can bear. And unfortunately, what ends up happening is that this really hits patients who are paying for things out of pocket. Many companies and insurance companies negotiate in the background, but a person going into the pharmacy to pay out of pocket doesn't have that capability to negotiate that. And so within this space, that was concerning. The Patented Medicine Prices Review Board, or termed the PMPRB in Canada, seems to work to keep insulin prices from increasing dramatically, as can be seen in the US markets. Policies to curb insulin pricing in the US, such as reference pricing or insulin co-payments, could help decrease the amount Americans are paying for insulin.
I just wanted to provide some of the findings that our paper discovered. So insulin spending increased 13.0% in the US and 7.7% in Canada. And additionally, the average American insulin user in 2018 spent almost 5 times more on insulin than the average Canadian insulin user between January 2016 and April 2019. Part of this increase was due to US insulin prices increasing an average of 10.3% compared with 0.01% in Canada. The most used insulin in both countries was Lantus Solostar, a long-acting insulin, where the cost per unit increased 11.1% in the US, but remained the same price in Canada over the study period. I also wanted to discuss how this finding relates to clinical practice. This finding supports the need for policies in the US to control insulin prices, as these high prices may have a large impact on patients, especially those who pay out of pocket for insulin. This finding also could explain why the dispensing of some biosimilars, such as Basaglar QuickPen, has been rapidly increasing each year.
What does this finding mean for patients? The price of insulin in the US continues to increase, and there's a lack of regulation to protect patients in the US from these price increases. It's important that policies that advocate to decrease insulin prices, or at least curb the growth in them, such as reference pricing, insulin co-payments, and easier market entry for cheaper biosimilars, could save American insulin patients a lot of money. So this body of work does not stand on its own, and it raises a lot of important questions in next steps and lines of research. Importantly, our future research wants to investigate the impact of biosimilars. Are they susceptible to rapid price increases as well, or do they help control these increases over time as opposed to the innovator products? We also want to explore and investigate the out-of-pocket costs that Americans and Canadian patients are dealing with when dealing with getting insulin. And lastly, we wish to explore if and when policies are implemented, are they able to control insulin prices? And so we'll be monitoring this space closely and updating these analyses to see what can happen and compare the two countries again. Thank you for your attention as we covered some of the major points in our paper. We invite you to find further details in the manuscript itself and invite you to read that paper.
We hope you found this presentation from the content of our website valuable. Our journal's mission is to promote the best interests of patients by advancing the knowledge and professionalism of the physician community. If you are interested in more information about us Our homepage is www.mayoclinicproceedings.org. There you'll find access to information for our social media content, such as additional videos on our YouTube channel or journal updates on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter. More information about healthcare at Mayo Clinic is available at www.mayoclinic.org. This video content is copyrighted by Mayo Foundation for Medical Education and Research.